The doors of the SEGA Lounge have finally reopened for another season. We've cleaned the cutlery, restocked on Golden X potions and phone booth fried chicken, and are ready to go. This week, I'm joined by RadioSEGA show hosts Rexy and INeedFruit as we celebrate 15 years of live shows on RadioSEGA and reminisce about the history of the station. Welcome to the SEGA Lounge, where we celebrate our love for all things SEGA, including the games, the music, and the community. I'm your host, KC. Join me as I talk to different guests and learn more about their projects and passion for SEGA. Hello and welcome to the SEGA Lounge. This is a podcast that is all about SEGA in all of its forms, the music, the games, the community, and all things in between. And we're back for another season. This is the first episode of the new season. This is episode 248. The doors are open, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to another season of the SEGA Lounge. As always, I'm your host, Casey, but I'm not alone. I'm joined by two amazing people, two amazing guests this week. To my right, I think. Yes. To my right, we have INeedFruit.
Hello.
Hello. High five.
Oh,
High five.
which way?
Okay. Yes.
I'll do both ways.
Okay. That went terribly. Listeners, watch the video version. And to his right, we have Rexy. Hello, Rexy.
Hello, I really want to stretch my arm above to the other side of me. There we are. Oh, hello.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, that's completely wrong. We are totally mixed up here in terms of directions. But thank you guys all the same for joining me for this episode. This is the first episode of the season. It actually falls on the week that we're celebrating the 15th anniversary of RadioSEGA live shows. I always have an urge inside me to explain to people listening in or watching that are not that familiar with RadioSEGA that, first of all, we are part of the RadioSEGA family. We are one of the podcasts that are part of a RadioSEGA network of shows and podcasts, and also that we celebrate everything on RadioSEGA. So we celebrate the anniversary of the station itself, which is a whole separate thing. It's this month as well, but we're celebrating the 19th anniversary of the station. And we also celebrate what is arguably the biggest part of the station, which is live shows. And so this Wednesday, the week that this is airing, the Wednesday, the 12th of March, was the first time that a live show aired on RadioSEGA back in 2010. That's 15 years ago. Do you guys remember what that show was?
Oh, that was the first ever SEGA Ages, was it?
Yeah, SEGA Ages with Resident ST.
Yeah.
That was the first ever live show to air on RadioSEGA. So 5 years ago, we did one of these special episodes to celebrate the 10th anniversary of live shows. And we're going to try to replicate this a little bit with two different guests from two different sort of generations of RadioSEGA live shows. And so we're going to start with Rexy, because Rexy, you host one of the longest, it is the longest running show in terms of like an uninterrupted longest running show. Is this a thing? Did I say it right? Longest uninterrupted running show on RadioSEGA? Maybe.
I can see what
that's
you mean with this one. I was almost about to think of Saturday Night SEGA, but you are right that Gav did take a break.
Yeah. So
at some point.
you have been doing this for how long now, Rexy, with SEGA Mix Drive?
This is the 13th season, so now I've been part of RadioSEGA staff for just over 12 years.
That's amazing. That's a great run. And so tell us a little bit about, first of all, how did you end up joining the ranks of RadioSEGA show hosts?
Okay, well, first of all, RadioSEGA was spread through word of mouth through the remix community, specifically the OC remix side of things. And then it was Gabby's promotion of the various community albums at the time, projects, same thing. That were getting released around the time of Radio Sega's Interception. So we had the Night's album, Lucid Dreaming, the Sonic One album, The Sound of Speed. And then there was also the Sonic Zone remix competition, which also ended up spreading with good community connections as well. That allowed me to one day join the old IRC during a live episode of Saturday Night Sega, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, they were so up in arms with being so welcoming towards different types of people, and I was like, oh, this is something that I can absolutely get behind for sure. So it did take a little bit of involvement with the community and me looking at the station and thinking, yeah, this looks like it does end up airing some Sega stuff, but I feel like I can end up taking things in a little bit of a more community-focused direction, like I've been seeing with the KNGI network and the former Air Zero Radio and the 8-Bit X and all of those things that were also going around. So if I can so I was like, if I can bring that kind of flavor to Radio Sega, then that could be great to end up expanding that even further. It just took some time, though, but we're getting there. I mean, actually, I think we've just nailed it.
Excellent. Yeah. And so you obviously have been involved in the remix community for quite a while, so for even longer, as you just explained. And so how did the idea for Sega Mix Drive materialize? At the time, so you already mentioned Gavi. So at the time, Sega Mark had stepped down not so long ago, and Gavi was head admin of the station at the time. How did that happen? Was it easy to convince him to just do a remix show? Full-on remix show?
At this point, the only remix shows that I knew was Dr. Skutnik's Mean Bean Machine, which was hosted by an outside partner. And having also been aware of the similarly long-running Nitro Game Injection over at KNGI, I was like, I want to see if something like that could also be brought over to Radio Sega. Now, Saturday Night Sega does air a lot of remix bangers, but that's also more of a variety show with Gabby's unfiltered banter. So going for something more specialist sounded like an interesting thing that I can try to do. So after recording a demo with the copy of Sam Broadcaster, which was the main software at the time, and then ended up sending it off to Gabby. That was the pilot. He never listened to the pilot. He never listened to the pilot. Instead, we were getting close towards what was seen as the Mayan end of the world, and he just decided to trial me on a one-off special on that December night, which was Sega Apocalypse. So,
yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
That was the one that was all about tracks related to Doomsday and the whole request spiel that ended up going on there. It's more like how to test my skills on a live show slot. But yes, good job, Gav. You didn't listen to my very nervous self back then. So I'm not quite sure how different things would have been.
Okay. So it actually, that's quite a staple of the whole Radio Sega community at a time, was Gavi, why don't you listen to people's live shows?
I still remember that meme, Casey, that you had, that why you know meme.
Why you know, yeah, exactly. That's true. Excellent. And the rest is history, as they say, right? So moving over to INeedFruit. Hi, INeedFruit. The other way. So we can't get this right. How did you end up getting involved with Radio Sega? First as a listener, perhaps, and then as a show host.
So I've been around the Sonic community for a while online, and I knew Sonic Stadium was like a website I visited frequently, and I loved Sonic music. I was always seeking it out. I discovered Project Chaos, which then led me to OC Remix, and then I was searching for more for more Sega music because I'm a huge Sega fan. And I actually joined the Radio Sega community 2 weeks before the first live show. So I didn't really have any experience of it as just a website, like a fan forum. It was very much I came in and Resident SD was basically live. I remember when I joined, it was like the hype was just building for the first live show. So yeah, tuned into that. Obviously loved Sega Ages. And I mean, I've loved all of Resident SD's shows. And obviously Saturday Night Sega as well was amazing to listen to. And the one thing that really struck me was just, it sounds obvious now, but the live part of the shows was so amazing because you could hang out with, strangers online, but you would be very quick to bond over Sega music. And I grew up in a small town, so I was like the only person with a Mega Drive. A few other people had like Nintendo consoles, but I've always felt like it was very much just a loner kind of passion of mine until I found the Radio Sega community, right? And then it was like, oh, have you heard of this crazy game called, Skies of Arcadia? And everyone's like, yeah, it's like one of the best RPGs ever made. What are you talking about? Oh my god, I found my people. This is amazing. So, but yeah, that was that. And I mean, I just became such a huge fan of the live shows. And to be honest, the reason why I became a Radio Sega DJ was because of all the early DJs, right?
Mhm.
It's just like during that time period, I was just such a fan of all the live shows, and like people just kept growing. But I never really felt that I had the knowledge or the kind of the breadth of kind of understanding that a lot of the DJs had at that early period. Like a lot of people either knew one specific area super well, or they knew all of the Sega library, like music and stuff. So it took me a long time to
Not
kind of
really.
pluck up the courage.
Not really.
Yeah.
People are very good at like
Well,
making others believe that, but it's not really true. Yeah.
it's kind of easy when you have the database of music in front of you to know all the
Exactly.
music.
Exactly.
I found that out after I became a DJ. But yeah, it's like the reason why I became a DJ is just because I'm a huge fan of the live shows and that experience as well. I mean, Late and Live especially was like some of those chat rooms. There was like 30 people in there, and it was absolutely like going crazy. People were loving it. And what's funny is that I think Radio Sega's had so many periods like that, so many defining moments of live shows. So yeah, eventually I plucked up the courage. You were running a Radio Sega at the time, Casey. You said, "Yep, sure, record a demo." I think I put some Initial D in it, and you were like,
I listened to it, by the way.
"You did." Yeah, you did. Yeah, and it focused on arcade games, and it's always been a big passion of mine, arcade games and the arcade culture around those games. So I thought that was a perfect kind of theme for me. And it's something I actually knew a bit about, which is good. And I played many shumps before.
Many shumps.
Yeah.
What a great genre of
shumps.
game. Yeah.
See, this is the problem.
Classic.
When you grow up with no one around, then no one corrects your pronunciation of anything. Yeah.
Amazing. So you guys actually represent, as I was saying, like two different generations, so to speak, of Radio Sega Live. And also great quality shows, I feel like. So in specialist shows, like specialized shows, remixes, arcade, and that's pretty great when we consider, like, if we go to radiosega.net and you go like to the shows and podcasts page, and you can start with the active shows and then go to the one-offs and the like ended, the ones that are not like off season or something. There's a full list of many, many great shows that we've had over the years. And it's great. It's a shame that maybe these days we don't have as many shows running, but the ones we do are still very good. So that's a reason to be proud of what we've achieved. But I feel like you represent two like staples of Radio Sega. Sega Mix obviously still going, so that's amazing. I want to go back a little bit. We talked about like Sega Ages and that being the first live show on Radio Sega. So we obviously don't have the same look over on Radio Sega as before, but thanks to the Wayback Machine, we can go back in time to the website, the version of the website that we had back in 2010, and the day before Sega Ages premiered on Radio Sega, the 11th of March, Resident SD used the Radio Sega blog, as it's called here, as you can see, the Radio Sega blog, to announce Radio Sega Live launches this weekend. Yeah, so mentioning both his own show, Friday, 9 p.m. GMT, and Saturday Night Sega, Saturday, 10 p.m. GMT, hosted by Gavi. And so, yeah, so this was exciting. This was the first, like, glimpse of what we now have, and it's the staple of the station. And here we have Sega Mark posting a comment to test the comments section in these blog posts. So if you're just listening, just check us out on YouTube for a trip back memory lane, and we can all look at these familiar colors, very colorful version of the website. I still love this to this day.
Yeah, it's good design, right?
I still had my eyes on the top 5 at the time, and one of them included hashtag sex sounds on Sega Radio.
Yeah, I noticed the top 5 is pretty good.
Yeah. And if you just go a little bit further in time to the following day, we have a blog post that Resident SD did moments away from the launch of live casts. So that comes from SSR, from the Sega Sonic Radio Times. They called their live shows live casts. And so I think for a brief period, we went with that before we actually just went with live shows. But yeah, and so we have, and I mentioned of the IRC chat room, which you could use to make requests. And then at the end of the show, people like Richard Davis, Old School, Sound Reaper, Hayato 3D, and Kaito-kun went to the comments section to mention how great the show was, how great our first ever live show was. And again, top 5, some passion on Radio Sega, some sex sounds on Sega Radio. That's it. Okay. So do you guys, so obviously you, INeedFruit, you remember this these days. Do you have any specific memories of the first couple live shows, or is it like hazy?
I don't remember the shows in great detail, but I do remember like the forums and the discourse around the live shows. Where the feedback was really positive. I remember as well that Gavi used to jump on after Resident SD on a Friday and just talk for like half an hour to to kind of drum up kind of interest for Saturday as well. So
that's true.
Kind of bring that listenership over to Saturday night.
Yeah.
Because Saturdays were like really busy as well. I think it was probably a more busy night. There were more active users like in the IRC. The IRC probably. As well. It's, I'd used chat before. Obviously, I'd like AOL, MSN, all that good stuff. But I'd not really been in like a public chat room. I never used IRC before. So yeah, there were a lot of memes at that time. The trout that people would slap each other with. You just get out a trout and slap people. That was a good one. Every time a net split happened, that was fun. Look up what net split is.
Yeah.
That was I always made the joke. I was like, "Oh, I'm so pleased to see you all. I thought we would never see you all again," and no one ever found that funny. But I made that joke every single time there was a net split. Yeah, and I mean, one thing about the live shows as well is the IRC is that you could DM the host right as they were live, and that I mean, both Gavi and Resident ST used that to great effect with their competitions. In fact, I saw Kaito-kun in the comments there. He forced Resident ST to do a custom rule, if you remember, because in reverse didn't have a guest limit.
Yeah.
So he was just like, well, what if I post every game ever made to you? And Resident ST was like, okay, I get your point. Well, I'm gonna have to bring in a rule now that you can't. You have five guesses or something. I forget what the solution to the Kaito rule was, but yeah.
But that's a good point. So the IRC was always and now Discord, but maybe then it was a bigger thing even because it was all so new and the whole interaction with the audience, right? And Rexy, you also used the IRC and now Discord to great effect to interact with the audience, right? Is that something that you find important when doing a show?
I do like to end up wanting to maintain good relationships with people on RadioSEGA. That was one of my biggest weaknesses coming into the station, trying to actually build a good connection with other people. And that also took I can't remember exactly how many seasons in that a question of the week actually became a thing. But I did end up using the IRC to take on requests. I also end up using that during giveaways during December events, the Project 24 back in 2013, as well as all the Winterfest that happened since for giveaways that happened during that time. And it just feels like great ways to end up, getting people involved in their special way, for sure.
Yeah. And all the memes, right?
The memes, all the memes. I think everyone's got a meme, at least one meme associated with them. I've got now. That's what I call Rexy Pella. Casey's pretty much got. I want to say Puyo Zone at least. And
all of the memes.
I don't know, maybe all. Yeah, so many.
And then of course we've got milk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true.
Gigapuddy as well, Rexy, for you, and potentially any mention of ice cream also is a bit of a meme for you.
Thanks for that.
And going back in time a little bit again to another version of the RadioSEGA website, we have the first ever blog post for Sega Mix Drive. Requests are open for Sega Mix Drive next Friday. This time next week, RadioSEGA will premiere the first show of Sega Mix Drive, RadioSEGA's new remix-centered broadcast. And to make it extra special, you guys have input on what music will be heard. Nice. Amazing. So that's, and again, mention of the RadioSEGA IRC, mentions of private messaging on the forums, things we don't really use anymore. But
a lot of things I don't use anymore. I don't think I really use any of them.
Tweets. That was a thing as well. Not so long ago.
There's an interesting thing here, I think, that this page shows, which is requesting used to be quite a formal process. You could rock up to a show and request, but especially for Sega Mix Drive, I remember you would have to get them in early because there's only a certain amount of time Rexy had for the show, and people would request for 2 hours, the whole block. And obviously, I would like to ask you this actually, Rexy, because there were some shows, I remember your early shows at least, that the requesting was so popular that you couldn't actually play any music that you wanted.
Yeah, that was more or less. Yeah, that was like a big thing.
How was that?
The first 3 months. I mean, the process in my head really was that I just wanted to make sure that everyone just feels happy with bringing in everything that they like, as well as I also obviously end up dedicating space to any new material that would end up catching my eye. That'd be the thing since the first Sega Mixer Drive episode. Look out for any new tracks. I mean, from any parts of the community that would end up coming across into my view. And that first episode did indeed have something from a band known as goodness sake, I know there's like a Chrono Trigger reference in there. I mean, there we go, Arc Impulse. They did like a set. I mean, is anyone aware of Chicago, as in the band?
Yep.
So yeah, if you leave me now,
Mhm.
but yeah, that band ended up doing a Chicago-esque cover of the Space Harrier theme, which I was very happy to end up hearing. And at that same week, Mega Driver, yes, everyone knows Mega Driver, ended up releasing this heavy metal version of Splash Wave on their YouTube channel. So I had to end up featuring both of them for that first inclusion. Now, here's the thing. Sega Mixer Drive used to be only a 1-hour show, meaning I was able to just like, I felt like shows like Late and Live and of course Sega Ages ended up feeling like they ended up establishing a framework, so to say. But the further I got in and the less demands that things started to have, and the more stressed I felt like wanted to fill space up, then I felt like some changes had to be made in time for the second season. So that's something right there.
Yeah. And that's a good thing about like doing this for a long time is you can perfect the form, you
Yes.
can refine things, right? Whereas if you just do it like for a few episodes and then leave, you never really have the chance to grow with your show, and that's a good thing to do. I was trying to find.
That's a good point, because I debuted that week with another with another DJ that was doing a show as well. So that one actually didn't even last the entire trial period. I think Casey knows about that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there were many, right? So obviously people have their own other interests, and sometimes it's hard to commit, I have to say. And I remember it, especially the time when you started INeedFruit. I remember that period fondly because that was the period where we debuted a lot of different live shows. That year, 2015, September 2015, around that time, we had a lot of new shows, including I started a new show that year, the Manic Monday show as well.
Manic Monday, yeah.
And we had a lot of some of them. The hosts are still around, some of them are not.
Yeah.
But it's really the biggest challenge I feel when trying to host a regular show is being regular, actually, because life gets in the way, and sometimes you're expecting a certain outcome in terms of like listener numbers or interaction, and sometimes at the beginning that doesn't happen. And so if you can't get past those challenges, it's easy to get discouraged and just quit. So
Yeah.
we got to be honest. But if you don't, if you stick around and if you tough it up, it's quite worth it, because we have a lot of fun. I still have a lot of fun doing radio shows. I don't know about you guys, but hopefully Rexy will say yes, because she's been doing this for a long time.
Here's the thing. I would absolutely say yes. There have been a lot of things that have been going on in my life, but my time on the mic at Radio Sega is a huge energy reliever, and I love every moment of it.
That's great to hear. And yeah, so it's a passion project, right? The whole of Radio Sega, but doing live shows, it's all about having fun and doing something we love. And I feel like you guys can relate to that. I was trying to find your first ever blog post on the Wayback Machine, but it's not letting me access it. I have found it, found the blog post, but in the current version of the website, it's just not the same. I can't access it. But there we go. So the 26th of August, 2015, introducing Club Sega. And I love this sentence. Your one-stop cut-up spot for all your arcade needs.
I love that
Yeah.
tagline, by the way.
This is the it's like, great tagline. Great tagline. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that did come to me as well. I think I was like walking home from the shop or something, and it was like ding, and I was like, yes, because I wanted something, like a tagline to say every show, and yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's great. That's great. Excellent. So I have a question, by the way. So since we were talking about like specifically your shows, but also mentioning maybe some of mine, and we talked about like in reverse for Sega Ages. SNS also has had a few competitions in the
Shifter.
past. Okay.
Do you remember
It's-
that one?
Yeah.
I'd say.
So, are the competitions or the little like games that we play on air important? Are they maybe not so much these days, but like back in the
Mm,
day? Do you think that was an important part of,
yeah,
or even maybe broadening the question a little bit? Because I think Rexy usually doesn't. I don't remember you having anything like regular in terms of like a competition or something, but you had different
No, I don't.
segments, right?
I did have
Which not
different
all
segments.
shows have. And so if broadening the question, keeping things varied with different segments and well organized, and including games and competitions, is that important from your
Yeah,
perspective, guys?
I think so. Absolutely. I know Rexy. One of my fond memories of your show is certainly the remix of the year questionnaires that you put out. That really brings you in and gets you engaged into
It does.
the remix community. And
It is
obviously Club Sega had the high score as well. So yeah,
the thing
go
with
for it, Rick.
the thing with the polls is that it gets challenging every single year to figure out how to quickly get the I would say the feedback to work with at a reasonable level. So it can be very daunting to try and figure out what to do. And in fact, it's had the same formula for like the past 11 years or so. But it's like every single year, I would be like, I need to change things up to see if I can find another way to get people on track with this one. It never keeps happening. I just end up keeping things the same because I don't know. It just feels like it still works.
Yeah.
But as for actual segments on the shows, this was something that I kept doing up until like the 8th year or so, when I was like coming up with different segment ideas to end up filling in for tracks that are otherwise not request blocks. So things like It Belongs to the Museum, which were remixes that were released in years gone by different things. And there was also another thing that was that was the things that are constant now are like when I got going back over the request block, the source roulette had been there for a long time. That had been a very popular thing.
Spin the source roulette.
Yes. Yeah. And School of Sega ended up being Night Train before Night Train became a thing, so that was something else. But yeah, the only thing I really changed about my segments this year is getting my niece to do a voiceover of one of them. So it's just subtle, but even the smallest things can end up getting drawn in from the listeners' ears.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like that's part of like the charm of some of these live shows, having different little segments, and it's even a way to organize things as well. So now, for example, now I do Night Train, and Night Train is very simple. It's very basic. It's like it's a 1 hour show, mostly 1 hour, like 1 hour ish. Over hashtag overrunning, but it's there's not really much to it in terms of like segments. Whereas previous shows that I've done, I always had like different segments and competitions and stuff, and that helped organize things. But I think also made it like for a more varied listening experience and like more interesting. And people obviously had their favorites, and they were like expecting or wanted to know what's coming on that specific segment that they liked. So and I feel like that's the same for all of our shows here and other Radio Sega Live shows, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it fair to say Manic Monday show is probably your most like feature heavy show, right? Like every week. I mean, that's kind of the point, right? It was a manic like show.
Yeah.
I mean, so, some of the some of the segments in that are legendary. I think it's really, really.
Say my name.
Say my name is obviously just. Did anyone get it on the first question ever?
Oh yeah, a few people.
I'm also thinking of that breathtaking piano piece as well.
That's what it was called by
Yeah.
Jervy Who, I believe. I still have that file somewhere. Yes, to read gezoogled things.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Classic.
Yeah, but yeah. So that's part of the charm of live shows on Radio Sega, and I believe that's something that people really enjoyed as well. So we're gonna take a quick break, guys. We'll take a quick break, and we'll return with more talk of Radio Sega Live and other things. And we're back. Wow, that was a really quick break, like we never even left. Amazing. So, 5 years ago, as I said before, we did something like this for the 10th anniversary of Radio Sega Live. And I said something, because when there's a round panel episode like this, like a discussion of something, we don't have one of our usual segments, speaking of segments, which is the SEGA Lounge Challenge. But because it's such a special occasion, both then and now, I decided let's do one of those with you guys. Okay, so
I can't believe it. You
I need fruits like I just did the other show, the other quiz show. Oh my god, the other day.
My team. I need my
Please. Team. Okay, so I have what I have here for you guys is 10 rounds. I don't say questions because some are questions, some are something a little bit different, and you can do this as a team or like against each other. It's up to you. These are all multiple choice rounds. Okay. So you want to play together, co-op?
Should we combine our knowledge here, Rexy,
I'm all for co-op. I need for it if you are. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do a co-op run.
I like blood, so if you want to like fight it out.
No, not lethal.
No.
Okay. So and remember, there are always options, so it's not very very hard. It's just kids' version of the Sega Lounge Challenge, if you will.
Do we get the seal at the end? That's all I care about.
If you get over 5 points.
Okay, let's do
it. Okay. So question number one. Question number one is a question, obviously. So it's related to Sega Ages. These are all Radio Sega Live questions, okay? So the first episode of the first ever Radio Sega Live show, Sega Ages, was dedicated to the year 2001. What was the first Sega song ever played on that episode? Okay. Option A, Sega Smash Pack Volume 1 main theme. Option B, Raz Area 1. Option C, Sonic Advance Ice Mountain Zone Act 1.
Okay. So, the A is the Sega Ages theme, right? And I believe SD let that run as the first track. And then that became kind of the theme afterwards. So I believe it's A. Do you think that's right, Rexy? Or do you think...
I haven't actually heard the first episode of Sega Ages, but that does actually track. That Sega Smash Pack 1 has been used as the central core theme for Sega Ages.
Let's go A. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go A then. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go A.
Let's go A. You know, I like to keep things interesting a little bit. Yes. Yes, that's it. Good job. Very good. That was indeed the case. So Resident SD played it as the first track. Sega Smash Pack Volume 1 was released in 2001, so it made sense. And it was also the main theme. So he played the whole song, the whole track in the first episode, and then it just became the theme of the show afterwards. Good job. 1 point. Question 2. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Who hosted the short-lived request show The Sega Jukebox, which aired initially in 2010?
Oh, this is going before my time.
Okay, so option A, Jamie64326. Option B, SJ. Option C, Andy.
Well, it's definitely not Jamie because he joined Radio Sega about 2 years after I started.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say that much.
I believe it was SJ, because I do remember SD, funny enough, filling in for some episodes on that as well. So every now and again you tune in and it would be SD going, no, yeah, sorry, it's been cancelled, but I thought I'd spin some tunes anyway. So I think it was SJ.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you both on agreement? Agreement for this one? Yeah.
I have no other track on that one. Let's go, SJ.
Yes. Good job. 2 for 2. SJ was the host. Okay. So now that leads us to our first song.
Ooh.
Okay. So I'm going to play a song that is probably the theme song, the intro to one of our many, many Radio Sega live shows. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to play a little bit of it. Let's see if you can identify the show. There are options, but if you don't need the options, it's okay. So let's take a listen. I think that's enough. So do you have an answer, or should I read the options?
I'm not sure, Any ideas, Rexy?
I don't think I've really heard it before, but it does sound like a bop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll give you options. Option A, Radio Sega's Triple Trouble. Option B, The Voice of Sega. Option C, The Blue Zone.
I don't think it would be The Voice of Sega, because I think Scotnick would end up putting in something a bit more based.
Mm-hmm.
Triple Trouble is a bit of a throwback. That was also another one of those shows that ended up getting cancelled out. And the Blue Zone, that was with the British Andy. That was the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The one before Sunday Fun Day, right?
It was, yeah.
I'm tempted to go Blue Zone then. What do you think?
I can barely remember anything about. I mean, I probably would have known if it was in Double Trouble or something, because that's getting closer towards my further involvement with the station. We might as well go Blue Zone because we're. I just can't see any other leads. It's like I said, Scott going to pick this. Blue Zone it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Blue Zone.
Blue Zone.
Please. No.
It was Triple Trouble.
No, it was The Voice of Sega.
No way.
A track by Audio Sprite for Scotnick's The Voice of Sega. So the Blue Zone, by the way, was not hosted by Andy, by the British Andy, but by PT Cass.
Oh,
remember
PT?
PT?
Yeah, I remember PTK. Yeah.
Yeah. Our first, I believe, our first ever Sonic themed live show, which it was like I think this premiered in 2015 or 2016. It was like it was in the INeedFruit era. So,
yeah.
But
You want to know what happened? I mixed it up with Ultrawave.
Yeah, Ultrawave was the show that you guys were thinking about by Andy before Sunday Funday. But yeah, so the Blue Zone. I don't know why it took us so long. Oh, actually, 2017. No, 2016. Yeah, excellent. December 2016. So maybe probably Winterfest was when this premiered. Yeah, and it took us quite a while to get a Sonic centric show. Apart from Ultrawave, but that was a very short-lived thing. And it actually started out a different way. But we don't talk about that. Okay, no points for this question, but we have more to come. So number 4, it's a question again. Okay. What's the name? This is so hard. What's the name of the yearly quiz show hosted by KC, focusing on the previous happenings of the happenings of the previous year in the world of Sega?
Oh, you were just in that, right, INF?
Yeah.
So should I give options or?
Yes, please.
Yes, still? Okay. Option A, Mock the Geek. Option B, Segathon. Option C, Sega Knowledge Showdown.
Okay.
Yes, definitely Knowledge Showdown. Mock the Geek was the panel show that was very early Radio Sega, and Segathon is Gappy's 24-hour charity event thing. So it's definitely Knowledge Showdown, right?
And was Mock the Geek Fast Feet?
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an old school name as well. Fast Feet's
Phone Mix.
Fast Feet Media as well, the website.
Yeah, which now we have everything of here in our media section. So obviously, and you both have been involved with this in previous years. So yes, Sega Knowledge Showdown. Okay, 3 points. Number 5. What's the name of the series of Radio Sega specials hosted originally by Resident SD, which has a duration of 2 hours, divided into 4 different blocks? And probably one of those times that SD hosted a show when someone else canceled was this. So was it A, or is it A, Long Play, B, Radio Sega Presents, or C, the Sega Mix?
Well, I think it's the Sega Mix. Long Play is something that's going on right now and explores SD covering different games. And Radio Sega Presents is whenever we end up airing something new on Radio Sega or sharing something that was given to us. So it has to be the Sega Mix.
It has to be.
It has to be. I think the Sega Mix as well was the basis on some late and live episodes. Like that kind of format was taken a bit, I think. But yeah, ask SD about that. But yeah, definitely C.
Okay. And I'm just looking at our archive 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. We've had 13 Sega Mixes, which is obviously the correct answer. Good job. The Sega Mix. So the first ones were hosted by SD. And then I hosted a few as well. I brought them back like a few years later. I know, Rexy, you've hosted at least one of them.
I've hosted at least one and ended up doing a bit of a botch job with it, but it's all good.
But it's all good. It's all good. But I love this concept. I remembered it while I was like, I think it was one of those situations in which we were supposed to have like a live show on a certain day and someone canceled it. And I was like, oh, but people are waiting for a show. And so what if I go back to that great idea of having like 4 segments, 30-minute segments? Yeah, still love this concept to this day. Shout out to Resident SD. As per usual. Okay. Round 6. Ready for another song. No, you're not. Okay. Let's take a listen. I think that's enough, right? More than enough. Okay. So what was this? Was this the intro, the show theme for A, Chaos Control Center, B, Sega Sunrise, or C, Sweaty Sundays?
Well, it's definitely not Sega Sunrise because we used that one track that was from Rhythm Thief.
Mm-hmm.
I know that.
That's
I know
right.
that much.
Yep.
But I would have known if it was in Chaos Control Center because I've heard that more than enough times to actually pinpoint it at that. So the only thing I can really think of by point of deduction is Sweaty Sundays. But what's your point of view on this one, INF?
Yeah, I do seem to remember. It was a time the Sweaty Sundays show wasn't something I tuned into regularly, but that does seem like that fits in my mind. So yeah, let's go see.
Yeah. See? Sweaty Sundays?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are crushing this.
Yay!
Not.
Oh my god, it is CCC!
It is CCC. It is Chaos Control Center. And again, courtesy of Audio Sprite. Especially
We're
for
so
Chaos
sorry,
Control
Audio
Center.
Yeah,
there was some voiceover on top of this, and the voice of Sega one as well. It's usually the case for most show themes, but this is just like the instrumental version. So this was Chaos Control Center, CD-ROM 1019, and BDX, the late BDX. A shame. But that was a show we had as well on RadioSEGA Live. So no points there. So if I'm not mistaken, 4 points. 4 out of 6. Ooh. Question 7. I think this is going to be easy.
Oh, I don't like that.
No, look. This is easy. This is easy. What was the first song ever played on Sega Mixer Drive? Okay, so I'm going to read the options. Option A, Mr. Stream, Desert Palace. Option B, Level 99, Prophetic and Avarice with the Nemesis schema. Option C, Ben Briggs, Flight of the Battery.
Well, all of these were definitely aired in the first episode, but here's the thing. Pretty much since that first episode, I made it a running gag every season to open the new season with any track from the library of one Mr. Benjamin Briggs. So Flight of the Battery is the track.
Yeah!
Nice.
Yes!
Nice.
5 points. Good job.
Nice.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's move on to 8, which is another song. Ooh, you're not doing a very good job with the songs.
DJs.
No. Okay. Let's take a I think this one, I don't know. Let's just take a listen. And that's it.
No.
So, is this the theme of the Dreamcast Hour, Sega Generations, or Topical Resort? ABC.
Well, I'd like to think it's Topical Resort because that opened with a cover of Tropical Resort from Sonic Colors, which is what it's based on. I can't remember the Sega Generations theme, though. But can you?
I can't. No, I can't. The problem is we're in question 8 now, so Casey's got us like on the puppet strings, and I'm not sure what to believe anymore. I'm not sure what's real and what's not. Has he put that in because it's a bit like Tropical Resort, but it's a Topical Resort?
No. It's definitely Tropical Resort. I know my Sega BGM.
Don't overthink it. I'm not that
Yeah.
smart or devious, or am I?
Well,
Experience says otherwise.
so we're gonna go see, are we, Rexy?
So
Might as well.
Topical resort.
Mhm.
Funny thing about this,
Oh man!
it's correct. Yes,
Yay!
it is. This is OSC's Resort Tropicale. Done especially for topical resort by one Mr. Green Viper 8. Okay, good job. So that's 6 out of 8. Good job. 2 questions left. Question number 9. What was the first song ever played on Club Sega? Okay. Option A, Super Hang On, Winning Run. Option B, the quartet theme from Quartet. Or option C, Get Me Power from Initial D.
Again, very clever, Casey. They all feature in the first episode, right? What do you think, Casey?
Exactly.
I feel like knowing you would probably start off with some Initial D because Drift, but only you could remember your full set list.
I believe it was Quartet, actually. Because I think I made the decision that I wanted to go real old school. I wanted to really set the stall out before I drop Get Me Power. So yeah, let's go Quartet.
That memory, that lack of memory. No, that was Quartet. Yes, Quartet. Good job. Yes, very good, very good.
Hands up, it's dance.
Okay, so round 10 is another song. What show is this the theme or the intro to? And that's enough. So, option A, Sega Generations. Option B, Night Train. Option C, The Strictly Sonic Show.
Oh my goodness. I have this feeling it might have been Strictly Sonic because that's an arrangement of Bridge Zone from Sonic 1. I feel like a different track would have been used for the intro of Night Train. Oh, it's just like it's so recent. Was like thinking. I mean, there's all recent shows and all. It's like getting inside my head. My gosh. Actually, I think it would actually be Night Train now that I think of it. It's just so lo-fi and just like fits right in.
So it basically could be anything, right?
It could
any
be.
one of these.
It could be A, B, or C.
It could be A, B, or C.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I feel like at this rate,
what's
I
gonna
might
be?
as well.
It can't be C.
Why not?
Well, why can it not be?
Because we've had too many C's.
We have.
I'm playing the meta at this point. I'm playing the meta.
We actually have.
Yeah, right.
I didn't notice that. No, that's not a something that you should be paying attention to because I don't. So yeah,
I know. I think it's A.
Well, Sega Generations.
Yeah.
So
only because I don't know that
Sega
one.
Generations.
I don't even think it's that. It's been so long since I last heard anything to do with what's it now? Anything that I'm trying to process words because it's just what it is. So now it's just one of them things.
Should we go Night Train then?
So
I feel like that would you really gotta process words somehow.
So I believe you were looking for the name of the host of Sega Generations Alpha Dog 1996.
Oh, it was Alpha Dog. Oh, yeah, this definitely wouldn't have been an Alpha Dog thing. No. Yeah, let's go Night Train. Let's go Night Train.
B.
Let's go Night Train. surprisingly, yes, it
Let's
is.
go!
It is Night Train. A slightly changed
Yeah.
version of what we heard is the theme
Mm.
of Night Train. Very good. So that's 8 out of 10, right? I
8 out of
think
10,
so,
not
which
bad.
is a very good score. Well done, guys. Well done. And that
And what does
gets
that
you
score give us?
the SEGA Lounge seal of approval. Well done. Very good.
Woohoo! Let's
Very good. Good
go!
job. Good job.
And
Okay,
will you send that? Will you send that to me on Discord?
I will do. I will
Thank you.
on Discord and not just on Discord. Yeah. You're out. You have an outdated view of the world. INeedFruit. It's actually a thing that I send to people now physically. So yeah.
No way. Are you serious?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
I will send one to each of you. Yeah, as a
amazing.
thank you for coming on
Okay.
the show. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So thank you for taking part. This was fun and not very hard, right? So it was like the kids version, the easy mode. But but I want to get your input on something. So we're about to wrap up. This is just a short episode of the Sega Lounge to celebrate 15 years of Radio Sega Live. What makes Radio Sega as a whole, but if you want to be specific in terms of live shows, what makes it so special in 2025? Because we've been going for a while now, 19 years and still going. There are other stations that have been going for longer, some with some success, some have like their audience has gone. They have shut down some of them as well. But Radio Sega is still going to a certain degree of success. Something that probably you guys don't know because you don't have the metrics, but podcasts are big in terms of Radio Sega listener numbers. Sometimes not just the live shows, but the podcast listening is something that people actively still do. What is so special about Radio Sega after all? From your own point of view.
From the point of view, it feels, I mean, it's like you mentioned before, it's a passion project for people who love Sega music, and as someone who's loved music, video games, and video game music, it is seen as a great outlet to go towards something more specialized. And for a UK-run place like Radio Sega, where they were pretty much winning the console war against Nintendo, and since developed a huge influx of initial fans, it like set the foundation for an amazing community for people that not only had grown up during that console war time, but had also been acquainted. I mean, acquainted? That's a posh word. But also been aware of Sega products even in the aftermath, and even with their continued use of their IPs today. So there's like I've never seen a more welcoming place on the internet that is more of a VGM adjacent outside of the actual creative community. So this is definitely something. I'm all for this.
yeah, I
Agreed.
agree. I think
Yeah.
the people, right, is what keeps people in the community. It keeps people wanting to make shows. It keeps people wanting to tune in. You know, I think we're all very lucky that on the big internet we found each other, to be honest, and it's a wonderful community. Like you say, it's very welcoming, and you know, it's hard to kind of understate how important it is to find, you know, a group of people that, you know, you can share your passions with. So yeah, I very much doubt that Radio Sega is going anywhere anytime soon, because it's that passion, you know, that keeps the community going. So yeah.
Definitely. I agree. We've all said this one time, at one point, in different conversations, different shows, episodes of the Sega Lounge. Even the community is such a big part. Even it has been bigger, but the people who are still around are very welcoming, and everyone who joins in is welcomed with open arms. Just like Rexy said, right? When you joined, people were like, "Oh yeah, welcome, great to see you." And like we have a musician amongst us. What an amazing privilege. And we are always and we are always very, very welcoming of new people, and that's something that's really important, I feel. I also agree that having a shared interest is important, and we now also have people who are younger, including staff members who are younger and have a different outlook on things, including Sega, different experiences, which is nice. So
Right.
it's like that variety is also important to keep things fresh and
It helps to have Sonic, doesn't it? As like the backbone. Sonic's pretty cool still. It keeps people interested. So
yeah.
This is the thing though. We may be Radio Sega, but we can never ignore the blue blur. It's always going to be there.
Yeah. But I have to say, that's what made me appreciate Radio Sega and stick around more than other stations. Apart from SSR, Sega Sonic Radio, which was a thing for a few years after Radio Sega started, there was a couple of other stations that I also listened to. But Radio Sega had that differentiating factor of being Sega and focusing on Sega as a whole. And that for me was very important because I loved Sonic was one of my, and it still is one of my favorite Sega franchises, but there are so many IPs that I still love. And having the music for those available to request and stuff, that was amazing. So that's still something important. I still remember the forum signatures. Remember those? Those little banners that we could use at the end of our forum posts. And and seeing a Radio Sega one with like Sonic like pointing in the Radio Sega Somebody Amigo style logo was something that I was really proud of seeing back in the day. And whenever I find that, wherever I'm looking for files or something, and I find that banner, I'm like, oh yeah, this warms my heart.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And whenever you saw that someone with a post that had that signature, you know, that's a cool guy or girl or person. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so obviously people listening to us on Radio Sega, excellent. That's where we premiere our episodes of the Sega Lounge, so keep doing that. If you're listening to this on Radio Sega this week, this means you're listening to one of the shows that are part of our Radio Sega 15 Years Live event. So keep listening. There are more shows coming this weekend, including some special shows by people who haven't been hosting shows for a while, so stay tuned for that. But apart from that, what can we expect from you guys? So maybe mostly Rexy, who is still doing a regular show.
No, not really. Actually, so my show plans are completely themed around the anniversary. So
I'm asking after the anniversary. So
after
because I don't know when people are gonna listen or watch this, so maybe they catch this after the anniversary. So what can people expect from Sega Mix Drive going forward?
Well, so it really will depend on as to what time you will end up listening to this podcast or watching it on the YouTube side. But usually with Sega Mixer Drive, there'll be like 1 or 2 regular shows a week, sped with different specials, sometimes with a themed one related to the month at hand. Like April usually has Sonic 3 week, and May usually has Eurovision thrown in there somewhere. And then, of course, at the end of the month, I usually tend to put in a mystery mix somewhere, so to keep things extra suspenseful. So that's how things would usually go for the SMD show format. Do take a look at the Discord over at radiose.ga/Discord, click the events tab, and look out for when the next episodes will end up airing. Though obviously it's going to be sent to like Sunday 8 p.m. UK, so that's easy to track unless you're on DST separation or something.
Which is coming soon, but
yes,
let's not talk about that. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, and where can people find you online, Rexy, apart from Radio Sega?
Apart from the Radio Sega Discord, you can see me floating around in any other Discords you may see me in, as well as Blue Sky, which is over at freakrexy.bluesky.com. That's freakrexy.bsky.social. That's FREQREXY. I had to quickly get words together because that's how it is. I still need to figure out how this really works efficiently because I've only just started using the service and I really need to understand how this newfangled technology works.
Excellent. Yeah. So INeedFruit, what about you? Can we expect a return to the airwaves soon?
Probably not. Maybe. I mean, like, I have some ideas. It's always a case, like we mentioned earlier, about weighing up the commitment it takes to make a show, and also that bar of quality that you need to do a good show. So, but I do have some ideas. I've been boring people with them in my life, going, do you think this is a good idea for a podcast, etc., etc. Otherwise, I'm on Blue Sky at INeedFruit on Blue Sky, and I'll be around Radio Sega, Discord. So keep an eye on those.
And every year, as part of Sega Knowledge Showdown.
Every year, exactly.
Until you win that thing.
Can you imagine? The streets will be full of people celebrating. It will be the most magical day when Team Milk win.
Next time will be your year, INF.
I actually think we're close. Like it might seem like we're further behind than the other teams, but
I'll say that Shenmue question that Jim failed, you would have gotten 110 or 20 more points, and that would make things much closer. So I agree. It's easy to think that you were behind, but not so much. I do agree with that. You just have to find a way to fire Viper or something, so he doesn't push that buzzer so quickly. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. It was a really nice conversation about Radio Sega Live, about your own experiences in your own shows. I urge people listening to this to go to our podcast, your podcast app of choice, and finding Club Sega and Area X by INeedFruit and Sega Mix Drive by Rexy. Rexy obviously it's easier to find new stuff because she's doing SMD still. So tune into Radio Sega for that, and you won't be disappointed with the content that these fine people put out over the years. So as for myself, I'm still here. Next week we'll have a special episode focusing on Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. We'll talk a little bit about that network test that they held earlier, and it's going to be a fun conversation with Green Viper 8 and Lime Reverse. So join us for that. But other than that, find us on Blue Sky and everywhere else, theSegaLounge.com, and a big high five to and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Sega Lounge, hosted by me, KC, a Mixed Productions podcast and part of Radio Sega's network of live shows and podcasts. Theme song and incidental music by OSC. Got any suggestions? Drop me an email to podcast@thesegalounge.com. Find us at thesegalounge.com on Blue Sky. Check out our YouTube channel for our video content and follow us on Twitch to join our Let's Play sessions and live episodes. You can find previous episodes of the show by going to thesegalounge.com on the TerraPlayer app and wherever you listen to podcasts.